Hey, what's up? It's Jeffrey Lynn. Today we're going to talk about how the water in your home might be causing your eczema, allergies, and autoimmune disorders. This is an interview video with Joe Yang. He is a fellow eczema and autoimmune sufferer. He figured out that a chemical used to treat the water here in America was causing his eczema, allergies, and autoimmune disorders. And a lot of it he didn't experience before in his life. Before we get started, if you guys are finding what I'm doing on my channel useful, please help me out and hit the subscribe button. All right, let's roll the interview. I'm here today with a friend of mine, Joe. He's actually a subscriber of mine, which is really cool. First time meeting and collaborating with a YouTube subscriber. He also has eczema and various other sensitivities, and he's also a dupilumab user, which is kind of how he found me, through the dupilumab video that a lot of you guys have seen. And we started getting closer and getting to know each other better because both of us somehow ended up wanting to go to the Netherlands to try out the environment there, and both of us did a lot better. We were actually there at the same time. We didn't get to meet up though, so this is the first time we're actually getting to meet, but we talked a lot during the trip, and we both did much better in the Netherlands, so we're planning to go back there. But one of the things that I guess for Joe, he did better in Netherlands because of the water. That was the main thing, and so that's his main trigger. I know there are a lot of other ones, but so today we're here to talk about water triggering eczema, allergies, and other sensitivities. And I guess the main thing that is a problem for Joe here in the U.S. is something called chloramine in the tap water. So if you want to kind of explain what chloramine is and how it's affected you.
All right. Forgive me. Cold. Yeah.
Yeah, both of us are tightening up our sinuses, and airways are tightening up just when we're trying to start this Skype chat.
Great timing. Great timing. Thanks for your intro, Jeff. And this is also the opportunity to talk about my story and chloramine and how it may be, well, definitely is affecting a lot of people and probably everybody in the U.S. at least. Anyway, so yeah, chloramine. It's what is it? It's chlorine plus ammonia, and it was it's a type of disinfectant for tap water, and it was not really used much anywhere in the world, particularly in the United States, until around 2005-ish. That's when a lot of water companies switched from chlorine, which was used for a good many decades, possibly 100 years, as a primary disinfectant, and that's when they started switching over to chloramine.
And I think a lot of people still think that chlorine is the main disinfectant, but it's not.
That is very true. Ask any average American, they're still not aware that we switched. And there are some pockets of water companies that aren't on it. They're usually on their own well water. But any big distribution system, like up here, San Francisco distributes their water to the entire Bay Area and even farther, the Hetch Hetchy water system. And San Diego's got its own. I think LA might have its own. And they all use chloramine now. And of course, even across the whole United States. So this is not just unique to California. And the reason why is because the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, which is a federal agency, started heavily pressuring the water companies to switch over back in 2005. So, like, yeah, as said earlier, chloramine is chlorine plus ammonia. So they kept the existing systems of chlorine, and then they just simply started adding ammonia. And the reason why they switched over is because the EPA wanted to reduce something called trihalomethanes, or THMs. And THMs are byproducts in a water system which no longer has chlorine in it. So chlorine is a great disinfectant. It kills pretty much every toxic microbe towards humans. However, it only lasts about 3 days. So if you have a water distribution system that's very large and it takes quite a long time to travel, you're going to have a problem at the end of the water distribution system when the chlorine's gone, and then bacteria starts growing, algae starts growing, and they start creating the THMs. And the THMs are carcinogenic over time, or at least believed to be. So to recap, chlorine has this disadvantage of not staying in the water for more than 3 days. And then for large water distribution systems, once it's gone, then you get the THMs. And then the EPA was like, well, we need to improve this. So let's switch from something else. Let's switch to something else. And that something else was chloramine. So chloramine's advantage is that it stays in the water for about 2.5 weeks. It's incredibly hard to get out, which is also a problem. Yeah, especially. And its major disadvantage is that chloramine is not a great disinfectant, actually. It doesn't kill some very dangerous microbes like E. coli. Yes, yeah. And, of course, as we're finding out now, or since 2005, it is actually causing a lot of previously unknown health problems. So in 2005, the EPA pressured all the companies, and they started doing it against actually the advice of former EPA administration. There's a reason why we didn't use it for 100 years. Against other big organizations too, like the World Health Organization, which oversees a number of matters, and they just recommended chloramine also. Furthermore, the one that really irks me is that they put it in rather recklessly. There was about only a few mice studies done on chloramine before they put it in, so they really had no idea what would happen on an epidemiological scale for humans. And of course, the mice and rat studies showed that it's very toxic. I don't remember the dosage, but it was. I'd have to convert the units, but whatever they gave the rats, pretty much like destroyed the rats.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can mix some household products and get chloramine out of it. I think bleach and ammonia or something. That's been known for a long time to be something that's very toxic. It produced toxic gases and things like that. So it's not like that wasn't obvious to people.
Yeah.
I mean, to any chemist that would be working for the water companies or the EPA.
Yeah. So I mean, most disinfectants are very toxic. They kill microbes. So but chloramine is has always kind of been known to be an adverse byproduct of nasty chlorinated things. Like you don't let your pool, your swimming pool, you don't let your swimming pool accumulate chloramine. That's a sign it's a dirty pool that you need to change the water or you need to add more chlorine, right? Obviously, you add chlorine in swimming pools to kill germs so that people don't get sick. And chlorine definitely makes people a little bit itchy too and something like that. But chloramine is really bad. That's what's going to really give like respiratory issues and as some studies have later found out, possible DNA damage, reproductive issues, and autoimmune problems.
Right. So do you have a list or kind of know off the top of your head what negative effects chloramine has on people?
Yeah. So when I first discovered, and I guess I'll get to my personal story a little later, but when I first discovered chloramine was causing my autoimmune problems, I found a local group that was trying to spearhead a political movement to get it out. And it's always the same case. Like um, people were fine before chloramine was put in the water, and they started getting autoimmune problems. Usually, it was either digestive or respiratory, um, with some amount of dermal. So I was unfortunate in the fact that mine was in a very small reaction that accumulated over 4 years, as opposed to other people who had a reaction the day of it was released, almost asphyxiated in their showers sometime. Um, so
Man.
they so they knew right away. Right? They knew right away like something's terribly wrong. So I have to find that study again, but there's some study that showed that chloramine attacks the mucosa membrane, and I think from what we know from autoimmune problems, when the membrane is compromised, then you're going to get what the body thinks is foreign agents and then start attacking it. And so your autoimmune response may be different depending on your genetics, but the cause is still the same.
Right.
Right. So I'm not sure if you want me to expand upon that or not, but yeah.
Yeah. So you think that's the main cause of your problems? Are there any other possibilities that you found that would make people more sensitive or poison people?
For me, it was definitely that. I mean, I was pretty healthy. And I was very healthy
Yeah.
before it happened. I mean, I used to have bad eczema as a kid, but it disappeared by the time I was around 14.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I didn't have to take any medication, not even any creams for any asthma or eczema by the time I was in high school. And then in college, that's when end of college, that's when I started experiencing these symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah, usually that's the standard idea is in your teen years, your immune system kicks in and you get a boost and it'll help you get over whatever autoimmune or eczema or allergies that you have as a kid. That didn't really happen for me, but I know it does happen for a lot of people. Um, and then I guess when you came in contact with the water, over time it built up. The chloramine started affecting you over time, and eventually the dam burst, and you just had a full blown reaction.
Hmm.
That I guess that's pretty common for like slow chemical poisoning, if you will.
Hmm.
A lot of times it's not obvious. Uh, your immune system fights it until it can't, and um, everything else in the environment starts coming in, and your body just can't fight all of those problems at the same time.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, and furthermore, the chloramine is probably in the water that's continuing to weaken your immune system while you have more and more environmental factors to fight now that you're more sensitive.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's all entwined. Yeah,
Yeah.
and chloramine might be the catalyzing agent for these autoimmune problems. But they'll get into more later about how it actually affects everybody,
Uh-huh.
even without current autoimmune problems. So go ahead.
Yeah. So how did you test to see that this was your problem, and how did you try to remove it from your life?
I was at the end of my ropes. I had been suffering for about 4.5 years. My eczema condition was getting so bad. Um, I mean, I was getting a head to toe reaction by then. Very deep inflammation, so deep that I couldn't even move my body without skin breaking.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
could.
know how that goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're one of the few that knows how extreme that is. Every day waking up in a body cast of crusted angioedema that got infected by staph, blood. It's
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to go into super detail with the viewers, but um, I was very desperate. Let's just say that, and I had tried I tried everything that I could think of. I saw about 25 different doctors in that time period, dermatologists, ER, allergists, uh, and all they could say was you're having an allergic-like reaction.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, right. Thanks. Um, and it was. But I remember one young doctor in residency. Yeah, of all the experienced
Uh-huh.
doctors, he kind of had the most sagacious advice, and he was like, "Look, I know things suck, and we're your doctors, but like it's up to you to be the detective and
Yeah.
figure out what's going on, right? What's causing the allergies." And I had already tried eliminating diet. I made my diet extremely simple. Just beef, rice, and broccoli. No additives, no oils, not even cooking oils. And I tried airborne allergens by staying in the same room with the HEPA filter going on 24/7 and never leaving it. Um, Finally, I was just like, okay, I had to quit school. I had completely failed school because I was sick all the time. Went back home after trying to live on my own for a bit. And when I came back up here to the Bay Area where I was raised, I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna get better, right? This is my home environment. I grew up here,
Yeah.
but I didn't. And I'm like, why am I not getting better? And that's when I was so desperate. I was like, just eliminate every contact variable possible. And so I stopped showering for 2 weeks, and the eczema cleared up probably up to my neckline.
Yeah.
So yeah, surface area, like, I don't know, like 95% cleared up.
Yeah, that's really interesting, huh? Doing the things you're supposed to do. Usually they tell you to you have to wash to get all the bacteria on your skin. You gotta clean that off and the
Yeah,
infections, like you're saying. But yeah, the body is actually pretty smart once you take away the thing that's causing the problem. It can heal itself pretty quickly.
yeah, it is. That's very true.
Um, so you've started suspecting water was the problem, and um, you started. I knew you started building your own water filter. Is that when you started figuring that out?
That actually took a while
Mm.
because um, there's no commercially available filter for residents that can get chloramine now. So I spent a good number of years trying different products. There'd be tons of products that would say they could do chloramine,
Uh-huh.
but they lied. And simply because a lot of these companies, I think they assume that the chemistry of chloramine is the same as chlorine,
Okay.
which they are used to filtering out this entire time. So, I tried, just some examples, right? I tried the large carbon rods for household filtration. I tried some other claims like vitamin C filters. There's one KDF Kinetic. I forgot. It uses we don't need to get super into deal tech. And reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis was actually fairly successful, but it was very expensive, and on its own, it would get destroyed by the chloramine very quickly.
Uh-huh.
So there was no good option for showering. I mean, if it was just drinking, fine, right? Like you drink half a gallon a day tops
Yeah.
for most people. But if you have if you have compromised skin, and I did since then, right? My skin became terrible since then, became super sensitive because it was on overdrive. I need a good shower, and it sucked. It
Yeah.
sucked for years. So I was getting by buying bottled water at either some water purification stores or supermarkets, and just sponge bathing, and that was horrible because with my skin condition and sponge bathing, no matter how hard I try to keep my facility sanitary, I was still getting a lot of infections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of water you have to buy.
It
Yeah.
was. I would be hauling back like 5 to 6 large 5-gallon containers, which are about 45 to 50 pounds each. And I was weak at this point. I had lost 35 pounds from being so ill for 4 years, and I had severe
Uh,
carpal tunnel syndrome from scratching.
yeah.
And I was just like lugging these things by myself, and like, uh, and then heating it up, and then sponge bathing out of a basin, and then cleaning it all up afterwards.
Yeah.
That sucked. That really
Yeah.
really sucked.
Hold on. I think can we go back a second? I wanted to ask you, how did you know what exactly it was that's in the water that was causing the problem?
Okay. Oh, right. So when I came back and I wasn't getting better, and I found out I was a tap water, that's when I just started Googling things like changes in tap water, right?
Uh-huh.
And one of the big things that popped up was the group I talked about earlier. It's called Citizens Concerned About Chloramine, or the CCAC. I don't think they're very active anymore. I haven't heard from them for years, but at that time they were showing up on Google as first search. And I was like, oh yeah, what's this chloramine thing? And I read their site, and it's full of it's still up, by the way, ccac.org. It was full of people's testimonies on the same kind of story as me. And I'm like, yeah, this is it. This got to be it. And so I started going to their meetings, and it was always the same story. Talk to members, and there was like, yeah, I was fine beforehand. And then 2005 came, and suddenly things just started going terrible. So that's how I concluded it was that. And then, of course, I did many trials and errors afterwards. Like, I mean, who doesn't want to shower, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd be tempted, and I'm like, I really want to shower. It's been like a year or two. I haven't showered in a year or two, only sponge bathing. And I was like, I really want to shower. So I shower, and like I get a reaction again, like, okay. And so after some time, like, it kind of emotionally processes, like, no, this is strictly forbidden. There's no going back. Like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is it.
Yeah. It's making me wonder if this has something to do with me not being able to touch water for about 9 or 10 years. I mean, the timeline isn't exactly the same as yours, so it doesn't tie directly into 2005, but I did get quite a bit worse during that time. And I mean, I already have really severe eczema before then, anyways, but I would not be surprised if chloramine in the water kind of pushed me over the edge or exacerbated things. I mean, adding more poison to already damaged skin is not the best idea.
Not at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you're in LA too. It's not very
yeah.
known for great quality water in general.
Well, again, like you said, the water companies need to or switch to using chloramine, especially for the larger distribution systems. The population doesn't get bigger than LA, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And it's spread out too.
So yeah, sorry. Continue with you started testing, and it just got it was obvious that you were getting better by uh, fixing the chloramine
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
It was just difficult as a lifestyle to manage.
Extremely difficult, especially since the damage that chloramine had done had seemed to alter my immune system to be hypersensitive in general.
Yeah.
So I started getting new allergies as time went on, like food allergies, and then environmental allergies. I'll never forget. I think around 2013, that's when I got my dog allergy.
Uh-huh.
That made life so much more difficult.
Yeah.
Hyper allergic to dog dander, and dog doesn't even have to be there. A person can pet a dog and then be within 3
Yep.
feet of me, and then start breaking out.
Yeah.
And how many people have dogs in America, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if at least half the people in the United States have dogs.
Yeah, that was my problem with the emotional support animals.
I
That
remember,
was
yeah.
yeah, that
And
was not fun.
yeah, and it's only getting, well, the problem's only getting worse for us because people are having less kids and having more dogs. So,
Yeah. Yeah, but once your immune system gets triggered and it switches onto hyperactive mode, it's kind of really hard to put the genie back in the bottle.
yeah,
Yeah, there's somebody else was asking me about. I guess they were taking probiotics, but they think that was the trigger. But then they also moved to a new environment, so maybe the combination of those two just started things rolling. Now, if they try to go back to their where they were from originally and where they didn't have allergies before, and now they have really bad allergies everywhere, just because they reached that tipping point and
yeah,
uh, their whole immune composition changed, and now they're hyperactive immune.
right,
Yeah.
right, absolutely. Yeah, it pissed off the the white cells
Hmm.
that are responsible for the immune response, right? And
Yeah.
it's just going to attack a lot more things in general. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you know how they do it over in Europe? Like why you were better over there? I know Netherlands has probably the cleanest tap water anywhere in the world. Something to that effect. They said it's cleaner than bottled water, purified bottled water, and I can definitely feel it when I took showers there and when I drank it. And, just yeah, it's really refreshing.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot of countries that use chloramine. Some parts of Australia do.
Yeah,
Very small parts of UK does.
right. Those are the only two other ones I've heard.
That's
Yeah,
about it. Might be some Asian countries. I haven't heard of any though. I haven't heard of any Asian countries using it. But most of Europe, especially West Europe, has very high quality standard of living, which includes a philosophy of healthy living, which includes, of course, clean water. So in my travels, Iceland had the best water, and then followed by possibly France and then Netherlands. But they're all good.
yeah,
And Switzerland was awesome too. All the Alpine water. I mean, we pay premium for Alpine water here, and it's just in their tap, you know.
yeah,
Um, but it's the whole philosophy. Europe just likes to be clean, and if you're clean, then you don't have to use disinfectants even. We have to use disinfectants because we're not clean. We have a lot of agricultural waste, especially in California.
yeah,
Yeah. And then, of course, we have a very long distribution system. And simply put, we're cheapskates.
yeah.
Um, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I know here in LA we do have a lot of recycled water from the Colorado River, which is pretty gross. Um, I don't know if it's still like this now, but I went to engineering school, and part of the civil engineering classes I was in, we did a whole water project with the municipalities, and something like uh, the water we use here is recycled at least 7 times since
Jeez.
it comes out of Colorado. So it's pretty gross. And that's kind of how a lot of these extra chemicals that are people flush down their drains and the toilets, even medicine and other chemicals, that gets into our water supply, our tap water, and that those things are also causing people to have more sensitive reactions. Just over time, they're building up various chemicals or medications in their body that they didn't take, but it's in the water because somebody further up the river um, in other states just flushed down the flushed down the drain, or maybe like you said, it's industrial waste, it's agricultural waste.
On the
Probably like
sewage.
lawn fertilizer, whatever. All that stuff could possibly leak into the water. I mean, so that's why I was asking you, how did you know it was a chloramine? Because there are a lot of junk in our water
Yeah.
that's pretty gross.
Right. Yeah. Well, I knew it because, and the other people knew it just from the timing
Right.
and from trial and error.
Yeah.
And just, you know, it's very clear cut. It's like hop in a shower that doesn't have chloramine, then jump in a shower with chloramine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like
Vast
how if
difference.
I don't eat, I actually feel a lot better than what I do. So people are like, you need your nutrition. Why don't you eat? I'm like, because I feel so much better when I don't, because I'm not coming in contact with the things that's uh, gonna cause reactions and inflammation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's pretty simple. Once you find the right trigger and you feel eliminated, it's very obvious.
Very obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Extremely obvious. And
Um,
if anything else, you could always just demonstrate at the expense of your own health, of course. But
yeah. So you were saying chloramine also affects normal people in some other ways, or generally. What's the idea behind that?
yeah, chloramine caused a number of issues, even for non-sensitive people, especially when it was released. The biggest one was chloramine corrodes lead. So people in cities with lead pipes were having a massive lead problem in their tap water. And the fact that most people didn't know about the chloramine switch, or most people don't really read their water reports, they were drinking that lead.
Yeah.
There have been several studies since then around the U.S. which have shown that, especially a lot of the children have elevated blood lead levels
Yikes.
from chloramine. And you know, the plumbers knew. The plumbers knew because the plumbers were the ones that usually had to fix these pinhole leaks
Yeah.
in people's pipes in their houses.
Uh-huh.
But that's only in the interior. There's still lead pipes underground, underneath the streets. That could be distributing into the entire municipal population. So I even remember here around 2005, the Palo Alto Fire Department had a sign in front of it that said, "Be careful, be wary. We have an elevated lead level problem." For some reason, people just didn't care, or they didn't talk about it much.
Yeah.
And you think it's obvious, like lead has always been known to be very bad for human beings, right? It causes a lot of neurological damage,
Yeah.
especially in children. So I don't know why it didn't get more attention. I don't know why it wasn't like a huge national front page issue, because it was very dangerous. It is very dangerous, still going on.
Yeah.
And I just read a report from last year that was from Stanford that was talking about it, and it's just it needs more attention for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, there's I guess people just generally trust the utilities and local governments to do their part and protect us, and obviously you and I, that that's not the case now, and because I was doing the civil engineering projects and things like that, I got to see that that wasn't really the case either. Um, but yeah, it like your doctor says, it's something that you just have to test yourself, and you have to kind of protect yourself and educate yourself, especially if you're having reactions or your health is changing. And I kind of feel like a lot more people are having allergies and eczema nowadays than,
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's just more diagnoses or if it's because of problems like this in the environmental or the various chemicals used in industry and whatnot that's causing people, and a lot of kids are having immune sensitivities now.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for people for testing if or figuring it out themselves if they are being affected by chloramine?
Yeah, so most people are not going to be affected like I was, or for the people in the CCAC. Um, but
Why is that?
don't know. Maybe the dosage is just not dosage of chloramine in the water is just not as it's not their threshold yet.
Hmm.
Obviously, there is it is toxic to humans, but how much can they tolerate is the question. For me, of course, I couldn't tolerate any bit at all. So my advice though to test though, yeah, if you're having autoimmune problems, it's definitely worthwhile to at least check if your water is bothering you, and not just from drinking, but especially from showering. Because showering is where chloramine hits the hardest. It's where it gets aerosolized, and the chloramine actually combine and recombine into an even more powerful form of chloramine with heat and aerosolization called trichloramine. It's like they formed Voltron. Yeah, and then that's even more toxic. And the EPA denied that happens, but chemists have actually proven it does.
Right.
So to test that, yeah, if it's worth it to the victim, if they're having severe autoimmune issues, I would also suggest don't use tap water for a week. See what happens. Don't use it at all. Don't drink it. Don't take a shower in it. Maybe you can get away with washing your hands because the skin in your hands is a lot tougher, and it's just it's a small surface area. But definitely stay away from showers for a while and see if it improves. And then yeah, go. Then you can try to narrow it down from there if it does improve. Maybe you can isolate what is the problem with the water. Is it chloramine? Is it hardness of water?
Yeah.
You can for hardness of water, that's really easy. You can get a cheap water softener. See if that improves things. If it doesn't, then yeah, it's going to be likely to be chloramine. It's aggravating.
Okay. Um, any other information you want to share, or is that's like a good basic rundown?
I say it's a good basic rundown. I did want to expand upon something we were talking about earlier. The rise in autoimmune problems. So
Yeah.
yeah, there is definitely a large rise in autoimmune problems, and I don't think it's just diagnoses. I think well, there's the hygiene hypothesis, which the medical community believes in, and they think that in the industrialized world, in first world countries, autoimmune problems are high because people don't really get infected much anymore, so their immune systems are bored.
Yeah.
I don't really buy that. I think that the rising causes is because of a lot of the disturbing chemicals that we have.
Yep.
Um, so,
Yeah, there's
uh,
a lot of stuff in the air too, in the soil.
in
Uh,
food and water,
yeah,
yeah,
getting into the food.
yeah,
Yeah, the whole food production. Yeah, it's something I definitely want to talk more about on my channel, and because there isn't a lot of research out on it, it's just we have to figure out things on our own, and the more people with experiences can come on and share their opinion, and it will be better.
yeah.
Yeah, like for the recent California fires, the wildfires, something there was an estimated 1,900 different chemicals in the air because of burned houses, cars, electronics. It's not just the basic,
Wood fire.
carbon like trees and stuff.
Yeah,
That's actually stuff that our bodies are. We can handle that, even though you don't want to have smoke inhalation, whatever. But at least we kind of know how to deal with that.
yeah,
But the fires have burned so much modern chemicals and plastics and electronics and the doctors don't really know how people react to those in microscopic form or in burnt form, because a lot of chemicals do transform into something else,
Yeah.
or metals. If you heat it to a certain temperature, it could cause different problems. Just like you're saying with the chloramine, it can transform into trichloramine, um,
Mhm.
gaseous form. And so, yeah, there's over 1,900 new chemicals in the air in California's air right now, just because of the recent wildfires. And uh, doctors literally have no idea what that's going to do. And again, I'm sure there are a lot of that kind of stuff in our soil too, in our water. So yeah,
It's scary.
definitely need to get more people's attention and fix these problems. And I do like going to Europe because of just how much more diligent they are in paying attention to these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. One last thing is we don't have to use chloramine at all. There are far better, more effective, safer, cleaner ways to filter.
hmm
Food costs more money though, but of course you want better health, or yeah,
well,
it's one of those things.
yeah. I mean, the medical cost that's going to come out of it is a
That's
lot
true.
more. Just with all these kids that I know in our
Yeah.
area that have allergies, and I'm like, when I was growing up, I was the only one. Now it's like every kid has
Yeah.
problems, and yeah, if you take that over the lifetime of that kid, uh, the cost of that, if you just fix the water and fix a couple things in the soil, it's not that big
It's
of
not
a
that,
deal.
yeah, you're right. I mean,
Yeah,
I personally probably lost more than $1 million in medical costs and opportunity costs from not working for 10 years because I'm sick.
right, right.
So,
Yeah, your productivity too, just from the tax dollars that they could have gotten from you if you were healthy,
right.
could pay for it.
They
Yeah,
could have made a lot more money off of me that way,
yeah,
but no.
yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add?
um, that's probably it for now. Yeah, that's a good, it's a good intro segment.
Yeah, I just want to get this out there, especially now that I'm seeing more people discussing the problems with chloramine. People in some allergy groups and on Reddit that I know um, have been discussing and noticing that they're triggered by chloramine, for at least for one of their allergies, and eczema is triggered by chloramine. So I want to get this out there, and maybe it'll help some people. People who watch my channel, at least test it out and just get the conversation going.
Hmm. Thank you.
All right.
Really appreciate that. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Joe. It's good hanging out with you.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right.